Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare,
Krishna Krishna Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Go, Premanandi. Srila Prabhupada said that the whole Goloka Vrindavan is right there in that song. Jaya Radha Madhava. Radha and Krishna, Vrindavan, Jamuna, Govardhan Hill, all the residents of Vrindavan. Prabhupada would chant this, and sometimes he would go into ecstasy. Give a cushion to Vishal. He would go into ecstasy. And the whole atmosphere would just be transformed to Goloka Vrindavan. Imagine being in a room, Prabhupada goes into ecstasy. So he would do that. Actually, it happened quite a few times. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So this morning we're reading the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 17, text number 4. Just to give you an idea of what's happening here, Maharaj Parikshit, he's the king of the world, and he comes along and finds a Sudra beating a cow and a bull. And he's not happy with that at all, as we're going to find out here. Who has devices here? Okay, practically everybody. You could share, maybe you could share. Prapachavatam abrudha kartasvara yadam megagambhira vacha smaropita karmuka prapachavatam abrudha kartasvara parichadam megagambhira vacha Samaropita Kamuka Papracha Ratam Arudha Kartas Vara Parichadam Megagambhira Yavacha Samaropita Kamuka Prachavatam Arudha Kartasvara Parichadam Megagambhira Yavacha Samaropita Kamuka
Papricharatam arudha.
Papricharatam arudha.
Kartasvara parichadam.
Kartasvara parichadam. Nigambiraya vacha. Samaru. Papricha inquired. Ratam, chariot. Arudha, seated on. Kartasvara, gold. Parichadam, embossed with. Megha, cloud. Gambiraya, exonerating. Vacha, sound. Samaropita, well equipped. Karmuka, arrows and bow. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada Ki. Mars Bricket, well equipped with arrows and bow and seated on a gold embossed chariot, spoke to him, the Sudra, with a deep voice sounding like thunder. Purport. An administrative head or king like Mars Bricket, with full majestic authority, well equipped with weapons to chastise miscreants, can challenge the agents of the age of Kali. Then only will it be possible to counteract the degraded age. And in the absence of such strong executive heads, there is always disruption of tranquility. The elected show bottle executive head, as representative of a degraded public, cannot be equal with a strong king like Maharaj Parikshit. The dress or style of royal order does not count. It is one's actions which are counted. Om Jnanatamanandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chakshun Militam Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Mukram Kutavachalam Pangam Mangai Degri Yad Kripa Tadaham Bande Sri Gurum Dinatarana Vanchikapatriyuscha Kripa Sindhu Devacha Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada, he would challenge the atheists and the philosophers. Let them come forward. I'll challenge any of these atheists and these scientists. I'll prove that God exists. Prabhupada was very powerful. So this Krishna conscious movement is a challenge to material life, because in material life, what is the goal? Is to satisfy the senses, right? Everybody is thinking that they're their body, that they're their material senses, and the goal of life is to satisfy the senses. So this movement is a challenge in the sense that we're helping people come to reality that you're not your senses. You're not the body, you're not your mind. We're the soul within. And by satisfying the soul, by feeding the soul, one becomes satisfied, not by just feeding the senses. It's like they have this saying, eat, drink, and be merry, for you may die tomorrow. But this is another fallacy. No one dies. Everyone's eternal. And according to how we live this life, we're like the architects of our future. According to how we live this life, we're creating our future. I was speaking to a very nice student at Stanford a couple of days ago. And I was explaining this. He said, "Oh yeah, this makes complete sense. Yeah. That we're the soul within. That this happiness doesn't come from just satisfying these senses." And he took a number of books, and yeah, it's appreciated because this whole society is based on an illusion, on an illusion that we're this material body, and by satisfying the senses that we'll be satisfied. There was one person who was very attracted to Krishna consciousness and attracted to the devotees, and this is this was in England, and this is back in the 30s. He was the Lord of Zetland, and he asked one devotee, "Can you make me a brahmana?" And he said, "Yes, no problem. You just follow these four regular principles: no gambling, no intoxication, no meeting, and no illicit sex." And what was his response? Impossible. Impossible. They can't imagine. But so many devotees, thousands and thousands of devotees around the world, are living like this, and they're happy, and they're satisfied. Prabhupada was given an initiation in Boston back in the 70s, and there was a number of devotees being initiated, and they were all telling the four regular principles and chanting 60 rounds. And one devotee went up there and he said the four regular principles, and Prabhupada said to this devotee, "Which one do you like the most of the four regular principles?" And the devotee said, "Prabhupada, you're testing me." He said, "So why are we taking these rules and regulations, these four regular principles? Because it's an austerity. But if one is able to do that and get a higher taste, then one experiences a nice life, actually." Krishna says, "Yehi samsparsha jabhoga dukkho yanaya evate adyantavantanikoni." That an intelligent person does not take part in the source of misery, which are due to contact with material sense. Such pleasures have a beginning and an end. So a wise person doesn't take delight in it. So nobody wants an end of their pleasure, right? We all want it to increase. Nobody wants an end, but in material life, it always comes to an end, and sometimes in very painful ways, quite often, actually. But in spiritual life, if we take it seriously, then the pleasure is always increasing. Even when you get to the spiritual world, it's ever increasing. So this is and this is the life that everybody is looking for: a happiness which is always increasing. But in material life, no. It comes to a certain level, then it decreases. Just like I had one friend, he was going to school at USC, nice school, nice campus, and when he first went into the school, he was so happy. So I said, "So you like this school?" He said, "Oh yeah, it's fantastic. It's great. So nice campus, nice students." And then I saw him 4 years later. He was just before he was graduating. I said, "So how do you like it here?" He said, I can't wait to get out of this place." So that's how it is. In the beginning, it's nice, yeah, but then after a while, then it gets old. That's the nature of this world. Everything gets old. Like there was one lady. She was a big model, one of the most famous models in the world. And some years later, someone went to take a picture of her, and she wouldn't let the person take a picture because she was older now. She wasn't the beauty that she used to be. She said, "No, don't take a picture. I want to be remembered as I was, not as I am." Because it gets old. It's not so attractive anymore. So that's the nature of this world. Everything gets old. Yeah. But Krishna consciousness, it's ever fresh. Yeah. It's ever fresh. It's like so many people, they're taking intoxication. And in the beginning, it may be some pleasure there. But do you have any idea how many people die of alcoholism a year in America? About 3 million. And they're having a good time, yeah, drinking it up, yeah. Eat, drink, and be merry. But then they become addicted. They can't stop. And drug abuse, same thing. About 80,000 people died last year. Overdose, drugs. Yeah. Thinking they're having a good time. No. This is artificial pleasure. It doesn't give real pleasure to the soul. It actually causes pain. So we're given an alternative, Krishna consciousness. This is an alternative to the so-called pleasures of this world. Like there's different, in the Srimad Bhagavatam, it's described that there's different types of devotional service. There's devotional service in the mode of goodness. There's devotional service in the mode of passion. And believe it or not, there's devotional service in the mode of ignorance. Now one might ask, well, what is that? Devotional service in the mode of ignorance. Well, there were some devotees, when Prabhupada was here, this is mid-70s, who before they joined, they sold drugs. That's how they did their livelihood. And then they became devotees and they took these vows for regular principles. They weren't taking drugs, but they were making a lot of money before as drug dealers. So they thought, well, we'll make a lot of money for Krishna. And they were making a lot of money. They weren't taking any drugs themselves, but they were selling and giving the money to Prabhupada. And one devotee said, Prabhupada, that money that was just given to you, that was made by selling drugs. And Prabhupada told them to stop. But they were it was devotional service. They were doing it, but they were giving the money to Krishna. But this is devotional service in the mode of ignorance, and Prabhupada stopped it. There was one devotee, Syamasundar, who, this is back in 1968, he went to Prabhupada and said, Prabhupada, I have to go to jail. And he said, why? Well, I used to sell drugs. And Prabhupada said, yeah, I also used to sell drugs. But Prabhupada, I have to go to jail. Yeah, Krishna, he was born in jail. It's okay. And don't worry, you're a good boy. They'll let you out early. They have that thing, you're let out early on good time. If you're a good prisoner, they let you out early. Not only he, but also Malati had to go to jail. They were partners in crime before. So both of them, they got out of jail early because they were good prisoners. And similarly, this material world, it's a prison. And we have our time here in this prison. But if we're good prisoners, if we're good devotees, we get out early on good time. If we're good devotees, we get out early. Otherwise, especially us Westerners, we're doing so much nonsense. Indians, I don't think so much nonsense. Chris, you guys grew up in the movement, right? Yeah? Yeah, your parents are devotees? Wow, you guys are very fortunate. Us, we had another situation. But we can get purified. And this process also, it counteracts the age of Kali, this process of Krishna consciousness. Iti sadaskam namnam kali kamasanasa nata protopaya sarva vedesha dushite. That if one wants to counteract all the sins of the age of Kali and become free of the contamination of this age, there is no alternative than to chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. These names are so powerful that they can destroy the 6 enemies. What are the 6 enemies? Lust, anger, greed, envy, madness, illusion. These are the enemies of the soul. So the Krishna is very powerful. His name and himself, they're non-different. So just by chanting the names of Krishna, we get purified. But the more we chant attentively, the more effect is there. If we're chanting and we're not attentive, then the effect isn't there. And that's a big challenge for ourselves. I was just listening to a class by Kesava Swami. He said, if you could chant the Hare Krishna mantra for a half hour, you're in samadhi. And I was thinking, this morning I was trying to chant just Krishna, nothing else in my mind but Krishna during my. It's so difficult. It's so difficult, as we all experience. So many things enter the mind, like, why? So difficult. But Krishna says, yato nischalati manuschantaram astram tatastato nyam nyatad atmanyev samaya. From wherever the mind wanders, dude, it's flickering, an unsteady nature, one has to bring it back. To keep on bringing it back under the control of the self. So practice makes perfect. So as we practice more and more, then eventually, with the mercy of Krishna, we'll be able to control the mind and focus it on Krishna. Yeah. It's like there's so many wonderful devotees. You could see that they're able to focus, like Vaiseshika, like Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur says that the mind is a non-devotee. But there's some devotees, their mind is actually a devotee. Like Vaiseshika Prabhu, his mind is a devotee. Radhanath Swami's mind is a devotee. Prabhupada would speak, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Their mind is a devotee. So we're trying to train our mind in such a way that it's a devotee. It's like the karmis, they live to satisfy their senses because they think that they're senses. Devotees live to satisfy the senses of Krishna because we know that will bring satisfaction to our own senses. Material sense gratification is not going to satisfy our senses, but satisfying Krishna, satisfying the senses of Krishna, this will satisfy us. And therefore, it's stated by Prahlad Maharaj, Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu, Smaranam Padasevanam, Archanam Vandanam Dasyam, Sakhimamanam. That hearing, we got to hear about Krishna. There's so many things that we could hear about, billions of things we could hear about. But if we're hearing about Krishna, then Krishna is pleased, and he notes that. That's noted. That there's so many things we could be doing and thinking, but we're thinking of Krishna, trying to serve Krishna. He's pleased. So Shravanam, hear Krishna, and when we hear about Krishna, then if we're very fortunate, we'll also give Krishna to others. Shravanam Kir, whatever we hear, we should repeat. Tell it to others. Just like there's different types of people. There's people that are very ripe, and Prabhupada gives the example of just like if you put fire on dry grass, immediately fire comes up. So that's someone who's like this person I met the other day. He was very enthusiastic. He wants to come Sunday. This coming Sunday also. He was so happy to hear what I had to say and to get the books. So that's like that. He dry gas. He was so happy. And then there's if a spark goes on cement, then it gradually goes out. That's the mode of passion. In the mode of ignorance, the spark goes in water, just out immediately. So there's people out there that are in the mode of goodness that you explain something to them, and they're like, oh yeah, very nice. And those of us that are book distributors, we meet people like that. Selling sets now, that's so ecstatic. So those are people that are like, very ripe. People are enthusiastic to take books or to chant the holy names. And even sometimes there was one devotee distributing books in the airport, Jagaranga. Some of you know Jagaranga. He was distributing books, and he was talking to this man, and he had a son, maybe 10 years old, and he was very enthusiastic. So he had seen Jagaranga distributing books. He said, "Can I distribute some of the books?" He said, "Yeah." All right. He gave him a couple of books, and he was just a kid. He went out. He was actually distributing. Bring the money back to Jagaranga. And meanwhile, his father's taking the book and giving a donation. But can you imagine that? Just this kid just spontaneously wants to distribute books. So past life somehow it's just picking up. So there's people like that are very enthusiastic. Of course, Kali Yuga, very few people are interested in spiritual life. Like Prabhupada, he says, very difficult to make a devotee. And that was when the movement was really growing. But so many people came and then left. So a devotee is someone who comes and he stays, which is not easy because this is Maya's kingdom. And especially now, there's so much opportunity for sense gratification. So, Shravanam Kirtanam Smaranam. So if we hear about Krishna, we chant about Krishna, then there's a good chance we're going to remember Krishna. Just like I'm sure all of you had the experience where you're just walking down the street and the Hare Krishna mantra comes in your mind. You had that experience? Yeah. Because this process, it sets a momentum. If we chant our 16 rounds nicely, it creates a momentum. So we automatically think of Krishna, which is nice. We remember Krishna. Smartavyang saratang Vishnu or Vishnu tavyana jatuche. That there's so many rules and regulations in the Vedas, but the two that are most important is to always remember Krishna and don't forget Krishna. And Prabhupada called this the mental culture of Krishna consciousness. The mental culture of Krishna consciousness. We're training our mind to think of Krishna. And if we could do this throughout our life, then at the time of death, we'll be ready for the final exam. Like some of you are in school, you're going to have your final exam. But the real final exam, this is the preliminary final exam you guys are going to have. But the real final exam is, what are we going to think of at the time of death? So Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu, hearing about Krishna, chanting, remembering, Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu Smaranam Padaseva, worshipping the lotus feet of Krishna. Worshipping the lotus feet of Krishna means engaging in devotional service. We have to serve Krishna. Either we serve Krishna or we serve Maya. There's no in between. So this process is all about serving Krishna, trying to please Krishna. And we have so many nice examples. Prabhupada came, excuse me. Prabhupada came and he was a perfect example of a Vaishnava. Such an extraordinary devotee. He was a good manager. He was a perfect example of a Vaishnava. He was friendly. He knew how to deal perfectly with people. Just such an amazing example. Made so many devotees. And he's still making devotees. He reasons ill who say that Vaishnavas die while still living in sound. Excuse me. The Vaishnavas die to live, and living spread the holy name around. So Prabhupada is alive still. Yeah. And we can associate. I see one devotee said, the person who who is most in touch with Srila Prabhupada's teaching may not even be alive yet. He may come later. Yeah. Prabhupada would speak about a self-effulgent acharya. Like Prabhupada was like that. And we may find in the future that someone just comes, he's just amazing. Amazing presentation of Krishna consciousness, amazing activity. It's like I think it was stated by Sanatana Goswami of Haridas Thakur that some people, they preach very nicely, but their actions aren't so nice. And some people, their actions are very nice, but they don't preach so nicely. But you, Haridas Thakur, you're a very good preacher and your actions are perfect. So this is an acharya who teaches by example. So, maybe one of you is one of the persons that's going to be the example. So, Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu Smaranam Pada Sevanam Archanam. What's Archanam? Worshipping the Lord. Prabhupada came and taught us how to worship the Lord so nicely. Brought deities all over the place, all over the world. He set up deity worship. Because if we're doing devotional service but we're not worshiping the Lord, then something's missing there. We're not able to show our devotion to Krishna. When there's deities, then there's so many ways that we show our devotion to Krishna. It's like we at the temple here, we go and we do kirtan for the pleasure of the Lord. And they're dressing the deities and they're cooking for the deities, and this is the way to show our devotion to Krishna. Yeah. So here in this purport, just to wind it up here, Prabhupada says that the dress or style of royal order does not count. It is one's actions which are counted. Just like it said that a well-dressed fool is not known until he speaks. Yeah. Just like we have so many leaders around the world, they're all dressed so nicely. But when they speak, like, oh man, you need to say something better than that. Yeah. Like, who was it said that our temple, I mean, our present president, he said, how many lies? Who was it? How many lies? 30,000 lies. And then someone asked him, do you ever lie? And I never lie. Add one more. So, yeah, to be honest, for leaders to be honest, like it said that don't trust a politician. Why? Because they have great self-interest. They'll say anything to get their post. And this is why they're not to be trusted. They don't really care about the people. They care about their status. They want to be the president. So, and also he says, Prabhupada says that they are simply a show bottle. Now, what is a show bottle? The show bottle, sometimes they have a store and they have there's a bottle out there, and but there's nothing in the bottle. It's just a show bottle. There's some colors and some, but it's just a show bottle. There's nothing in there. So present leaders, they're show bottle. They say so many things, but there's nothing there. which can actually benefit the people. They have nothing inside their consciousness by which they can help people. They don't have people's self-interest at heart. All they have at heart is their own interest. So, but Pariksit Maharaj, that's a whole nother, he has everybody's self-interest at heart. Yeah. As well as the cows and the bull. So he's protecting. So now he's on Sunday, we're going to hear how he's going to chastise it. Sunday? Yeah, Sunday. Tomorrow the class will be at the temple. But we're going to hear the strong words of Pariksit Maharaj, a real leader, yeah, powerful, strong, kshatriya, real kshatriya. Yeah. One other thing I wanted to mention about how this movement is a challenge to materialistic society. And there were some leaders in other countries, they were getting concerned because we were becoming very prominent. We were growing we had this book called The Hare Krishna Explosion. You ever read that one, Hare Krishna Explosion? I agree with. You read that?
I read it, but I know it.
It's a great book. It's a great book. We were growing like anything. People were joining like anything. So much so that in America here, the Congress, they in their congressional meeting, they said, I don't know about this Hare Krishna movement. These guys are growing so fast, they're going to enter into our government. So they were getting worried because we were growing so fast. Yeah. And we were all over the place. You know. It's like there was a devotee, he was giving class in Denver at a university, Boulder. And the devotee giving class to the students there, he asked the students, so how many Hare Krishnas do you think there are in Denver? And one said, 30,000. Yeah. Another one said, 20,000. Another one said, 40,000. And the devotee didn't tell them how many there were. There was only 50. But because we're going all over the place doing Harinam, they just thought there were so many, but they're all the same devotees. So yeah, they were getting concerned, the Congress. And in Russia, they were also concerned. And this is during the communist era, where one of the leaders said there's three things that will stop communism: Western dress, Western music, and Hare Krishna. And when the Iron Curtain fell, we really opened up. We were growing like anything. Devotees were distributing books at a table, and people were lined up like 50 feet to get books. Of course, mainly this is because finally they get to buy something. They weren't able to. There wasn't any ability to buy anything, but some people were buying books like anything. And we were having festivals there, 10,000 people. It was like a Mayapur festival, and before this whole war took place. Every year, huge festival in Ukraine and in Russia, thousands of devotees. And the where they're making more devotees than anywhere else in the world now is in Russia. Online. This devotee is a doctor, Audarya Dam. He's a doctor. Yeah, and he makes so many devotees online. Also, Chaitanya Chanya Charanya, he also, so many. They're making so many devotees in Russia. I think we have so many IT experts here. We should be also making devotees here through the internet. I can't figure out why we're not able to. You guys are IT people, right? No? Here we go. Jess, you guys got to get on this. So we'll stop there. Is there any question or comment?
I appreciate two things. One is the showbar. I looked it up. It originally was a 19th century slang. I use it for stage performance that is synonymous with fiasco. It means failure or any dismal flop on or off the stage. And similarly, Prabhupada, when adept about it, he should show bottles when red water is put into a big bottle with electric light. So that means advertisement. Here is a show bottle of medicine.
Yeah.
Red water.
There's nothing there.
Nothing there.
Yeah.
Appearance, yes.
Show bottle.
Substance, no.
Yeah.
Similarly. And then I appreciate
like our leaders. Yeah.
I appreciated the point about not many are interested in going back to Godhead you mentioned briefly. And 1:217 Bhagavatam purport Prabhupada states that the Lord is reciprocally respondent to his devotees. When he sees that a devotee is completely sincere and admits the transcendental service of the Lord, he has thus become eager to hear about him. The Lord acts from within the devotee in such a way that the devotee can easily go back to him. The Lord is more anxious to take us back into his kingdom than we can desire. Most of us do not desire at all to go back to Godhead. Only a very few men want to go back to Godhead. But anyone who desires to go back to Godhead, Sri Krishna helps him in all respects. And the previous purport, Prabhupada also states that that's facilitated through the medium of the spiritual master. And that's the essence of sadhana bhakti.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. Those 2 points.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, we're offering people to go to a place where there's no death, there's no old age, there's no disease, there's no police, there's no crime, there's no school. But everybody's very intelligent. And who wants to go there? Practically nobody. Very few.
I'm good.
Yeah, I'm good. So this is the problem. Even people that come, join the movement, and then again they become attracted. The glare of Maya.
And you said the police Prabhu, just in general, what's been happening, not so much lately at Bhakti Santa Cruz, a lot of unhoused population, they just do whatever they want around the center. It's a little unsafe. But we spoke to the law enforcement and the management, and they're just kind of pushing the problem with one another. And the police responded to one of our volunteers. They said, yeah, if we keep getting calls, we're just going to stop responding. So their motto or credo is supposed to be to serve and protect, but yet that's not there. This is just interesting.
So this is in this neighborhood here?
Santa Cruz.
Oh, Santa Cruz.
Santa Cruz Road Center there. But it's just interesting to examine the behavior of these types of people. Are they supposed to be in service and protection? But what good are you if you cannot enforce that?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Not real Kshatriyas. It's hard to be a Kshatriya in Kali Yuga.
My uncle was a police officer for 20 plus years, and he still works for the U.S. Marshal, but he has to retire from being a police officer after 20 years. It's like cut off. So he was telling me...
Cut off? You have to?
Yeah, you have to retire after 20 years as a police officer.
Oh, really?
20 years, 25 years, there's a cutoff. Serving like on...
You don't have a choice.
Yeah, serving on the force. I mean, he was the chief of police of the city of Eagle, Idaho, which is like a suburban neighborhood of Boise.
Mm-hmm.
And you just have to retire after 25. So, but then like, they get rehired as a marshal or something like that, and they can keep working. So anyways, he was telling me that when he's noticed working in the force that there's 2 types of people who become police officers. Those who want to serve and protect, and then those who just want to have a power trip. And he said there's always a clash of heads between those 2 types of police officers.
Yeah, it's interesting that there was 2 policemen that found that it was found they were doing illegal stuff, and they went to court, and the judge, he said when I grew up, we looked at policemen as heroes. We loved the policemen, but now there's so many bad policemen. And now, he said, I look at a policeman and I think, is he a good cop or is he a bad cop? because there's so many bad policemen now, like you're mentioning. They're just on head trips, and they do illegal stuff. It's a big problem now that policemen are actually criminals, and they end up and go to jail also. So therefore, he even said, the judge said, now I look at a policeman, I don't know, is he a good cop or a bad cop? It's become such a big problem.
Another thing my uncle said, he said, man, if I was the chief of police, I would have you come in and talk about your Hare Krishna stuff with me. Because he says, because these guys need to hear it.
They need to hear something about integrity, right?
Yeah.
You're talking about show model, Prabhu, so I was reminded about one class where Martin was mentioning that Prabhupada showed, he had his life as his message. He showed by example.
Yeah.
And there was not a single incident where he was incongruous with his value system and everything that he stood for. I mean, you see over the decades, everything he spoke, everything he did, every japa work, everything was recorded. And not once did anybody find any incongruity with what he preached. So he practiced what he preached perfectly. And that's why he was a self.
Yeah. Thank you.
On that point, Nandar Maharaj, I'm reading this Srila Prabhupada Buddha Mission book.
I'm reading also. It's amazing.
That's incredible. So this Nandar Maharaj, she has this quote where Prabhupada's position is being evaluated by Maharaj. And there comes a section that exposing the cheaters is, I think, the subsection. And Damodar Maharaj is making the point that during that time, there was a lot of gurus that were coming. There's still a lot of gurus that are coming. Many of them became corrupted by female disciples. Srila Prabhupada never got corrupted.
Although they tried. Yeah.
He never got corrupted.
Never. Yeah. He was in Bombay, and he had just given class, and people were thronging to him to touch his feet. And the devotees had to, keep him back, because he was so attractive. He wanted to touch it, and that finally Prabhupada was able to get in the car, and they would drive away. And Prabhupada said, "Do you know why they're worshiping me so much? Because I have no sex desire." That's a big challenge also. To be free of sex desire, yeah.
On that point, I remember it from somewhere that some person and Prabhupada were kind of communicating telepathically, and that I think it was actually a female, and she was saying in her mind how beautiful you are, and why don't you show this beauty? And Prabhupada responded saying, well, if I came as I am, as beautiful, then they would follow me for my beauty.
Yeah, that was Hayagriva. He had a dream.
Yeah. They were communicating like that.
But his beautiful consciousness came through.
Yeah.
Beautiful mind, beautiful consciousness. Okay. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna.